All right, so in this video, we are going to be making our plate. This will be day one. We're going to make a plate that will ultimately get us to this point where we can do some prints or some rubbings, whichever way you want to call it. So anyway, what you're going to need for this, get past these, here's another example. What you're going to need for this are 2 pieces of tag board, because one's going to be the plate where we actually glue things on, one is going to be where we draw and cut things from. You're also going to need some extra pieces of scratch tag board to cut from. You are going to need a glue stick, you are going to need a pair of scissors, and you are going to need a pencil and a pen. Okay? Seems the only thing I can't find right at the moment is my scissors, but you get the point. All right, so to begin, the first thing we are going to need, and I forgot this in the supplies, is just a piece of drawing paper. And you want this drawing paper to be the same size as your plate. Okay, so you can see this is my drawing and this is the plate, so it's the same size. You're going to want to make a drawing of whatever object you are doing, and it needs to be very detailed as you can get it. I don't know that you could go overboard, but you know, maybe. Anyway, so I'm doing a mask, and when I did this mask, I thought, okay, well, I could just do the outline and maybe the straps and we're good. But I decided to put these details on, like the wrinkles that you would see in it, because I think it's going to make it more interesting. I decided to put the hem or the trim, again, to make it more interesting. If I was doing let's just say like a Cheerios, because I'm fascinated with Cheerios, you'd have to make it really big. And when you did that, it'd be really hard to make it look like a Cheerios. But the same shape with a larger version would be possibly a donut. And with a donut, I could make the frosting, I could make the speckles on it or the sprinkles, and there'd be a lot more opportunity for details. So as you're thinking about this, think, what could I do and what could I have that would have details in it? Here's another thing we need to think about. If you're doing let's just say a baseball. No, let's do a basketball. Okay, so I got the circle. We don't know that this is a basketball yet. However, if I draw the lines in, then it starts to look more like a basketball. However, I can't cut these lines out like this, as is. So I'm going to glue the circle down, but then I'm going to have to cut some tag board in a very skinny shape like this. Okay? So as you're drawing this, you're going to want to draw it as if this is what I'm going to cut out. And it would look like that versus the single lines. All right, so moving on. Once you have your drawing done, then you're going to take one piece of your tag board and you are going to take your drawing and just lay it over the top of it. In fact, I'm going to trace this, and I would recommend, okay, another supply I didn't mention, is just a little bit of tape. And the reason I'm going to use the tape is so that it holds it in place when I'm tracing it. And so it's just a temporary thing. And we're going to use a pen to trace this for 2 reasons. All right, first and foremost, this pen has a very strong point, and so when I push down, it's going to cause an indent or a groove on the tag board. The other reason I'm going to use this pen is because if I stop at some point, I could, like on the first time I draw it, I should be able to tell where I left off. So I'm going to trace around this all the way around. In fact, I'm going to leave the details out for now, and I'm just going to trace the outline, this part of the mask. In fact, I'm not going to even do the straps. Those will be a separate piece of tag board. Well, when we get to this point, we should be able to see a groove here. And if you cannot see the groove, I know you guys probably can't see it on the screen, and it's even hard to see it when, here, I've got the final one here. It's even hard to see it for myself. So here's a little trick. If you take your pencil and you just go over lines it magically shows up. Let me zoom in just a little bit. There, now see how you can see that line? Okay, so again, as you're cutting or tracing your things with the pen and saying, okay, now I got to cut it out, this will help you to be able to see it better. All right, so there's my first part. I would do this all the way around until I can see it, and then I'm going to cut this shape out and start gluing it on. Now remember what I just said in the previous part where I only did the main part of the mask. I didn't do the straps or the details. So I'm going to start with just this. I'm going to cut it out, and then I'll come back to the straps and details in a little bit. So once we cut it out, we are going to glue it on to our plate tag board, and that's where the glue stick comes in. A couple things about glue sticks. I want to make sure that I use plenty of glue because we want this to be very, very fixed on there. And even though I'm saying this, that you use plenty of glue, I firmly believe that it's not always how much glue you put on, but that you hold it in place. So I'm going to put this down here just a little bit because I know I've got to put straps and everything else on, and I'm going to hold it down. And then I'm going to take my drawing. I'm going to go back to my, if I have some extra tag board here, or if I need to get my scraps, and I'm going to cut out I'm going to trace and cut out my ear straps, this detail and these wrinkle details, and then I'm going to glue them on as well. And it's kind of nice to have this because I can say, okay, where does this one go and how does it, oh, there we go. It fits on like that. So I would glue this on right here. And I've got all these details to put on here. These are all my little pieces that I have to figure out where do they go. Well, there's the strap right there. This is a wrinkle. I'm not sure which wrinkle, so I'm going to have to line it up and say, oop, goes right there. It's a middle one. So it's kind of like a puzzle right now. Putting all my pieces on where they're supposed to go. And so then I'll glue it on. When you get done gluing it on, okay, it's going to look like this. And this is basically the final. This is what we're doing for day one, is we're getting this all glued on so that the next day we can start doing our rubbing or our print. And you can see I've got all these details that I've been talking about that are needed to be glued on. And there you go, that's day one.